Welcome to this webinar on arts integration and universal design for learning. My name is Judith Chalmer, and I'm Executive Director of VSA Vermont, which is a statewide nonprofit that uses the magic of the arts to engage the capabilities and enhance the confidence of children and adults with disabilities. And I'm here today with teaching artist Kim Desjardins, who is a graduate of our Arts Connect grad course in Arts Integration and Universal Design for Learning, which is offered as a graduate course for teaching artists through St. Michael's College. And Kim is a star pupil, has been making use of the skills that she's learned in very many different teaching situations. The Arts Connect course is offered collaboratively with the Vermont Arts Council, the Flynn Center for the Performing Arts, Burlington City Arts, and the Integrated Arts Academy in Burlington. And now here's Kim.
I'm going to be telling you today about how I use what I learned in Arts Connect, specifically how I use Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, and ways to bring art together with other subject areas, which is also called arts integration. I'll be describing ways to help children with disabilities engage in meaningful arts experiences at home and in the school setting. A little background about myself. Starting out, I was an art teacher in Maine between two schools, and I was bringing art on a cart to about 700 students, and I had some great art experiences, and I also knew that there was more because I felt like I was teaching students to create a product more than to slow and enjoy the process. Since they only had art twice a month, there was a lot that I wanted to have them experience. So there were also constraints that I felt with my own assumptions of what was possible. And I knew that I wanted to be more inclusive in my teaching, and I just didn't really know quite how. I moved back to Vermont from Maine, and I got while I was looking for an art teaching job, I got a job as a paraeducator. And at the time, I really just wanted to be an art teacher again. And I didn't know how much I was really learning about the arts, and teaching people with disabilities, teaching children with disabilities, differing abilities too. So I really became more interested in how the arts support people with disabilities. And I became aware of Arts Connect, the course that was provided or brought to teaching artists by all the awesome organizations Judy mentioned, and especially VSA. And I learned through Arts Connect all about Universal Design for Learning, which is UDL for short. Universal Design for Learning is a way for educators to identify barriers in their environment and in their teaching that the students might take away from the students' learning experience. And then it gives you a framework for designing your teaching to enhance the abilities of all the students. So I also learned through Arts Connect how to collaborate more effectively with teachers and how to co-teach in arts integrated lessons. And I'll be telling you more about those, some projects today. But first, a little bit more about Universal Design for Learning. UDL helped me see many new ways of engaging students. It's a set of principles based on the neuroscience of learning. Here's a graphic showing the three important networks in the brain. More simply, the what, the why, and the how people learn. And important to me with UDL is the understanding that everybody learns a different way. And it's not one set way all the time. Your learning style and preference can change depending on a lot of things. So UDL provides a structure for a teacher to sort of problem solve and figure out ways to vary their teaching to create an awesome experience for everybody. And a little bit more deeply into the what, the how, and the why. The what is representation, and UDL encourages teachers to provide multiple options. That's across the board. Multiple options is that's the big picture. So providing options for the what, which is representation, ways students can perceive what you're learning, different language and symbols, and comprehension. And the how is providing options for the action children will take, the skills and fluency, different ways that they plan what they're learning and how they perform what it is. And then the why is their engagement, which is to me the biggest piece, especially teaching in a classroom environment. Engagement, when you engage students, they care because they find ways that it matters to them, and it helping provide options for self-regulation and really sustaining effort and helping kids persist. That's really huge with UDL. Here's an example of a unit that I co-taught with the kindergarten teachers at Integrated Arts Academy, and I was lucky enough to be an artist in residence or a teaching artist visiting the Integrated Arts Academy at the time that I was taking Arts Connect. So I was able to really put to use what I was learning right at the time, which to me helped me learn a lot more. I was able to apply it right away. So the project that I'll be showing you in the next few slides was a unit based on science goals and art goals, shared goals that the teacher that we came up with for the students to learn, and it was based on their science unit on clouds, water, and weather, and the water cycle. So in terms of the UDL, providing multiple means of action and expression was like every time I visited, we added on something new. We did a different activity, all based on the clouds, the precipitation, the water cycle, and it provided ways for all the students to find something that they were interested in and engaged in. What you see on the bottom right is a picture showing the kids working together to create this water cycle mural. And we didn't tell them, oh, well, this is where, first they brainstormed themselves what parts of the water cycle are there, using really scientific language like evaporation, condensation, collection, and then, well, what do you think how can you show those things? And they really negotiated with each other. Well, over here I'll make little dots to show that it's fog, and oh yeah, it was very much like a authentic learning experience where the ideas came from them, and that is, I think, one of the core pieces that I took away with UDL to make the learning really, really come from the students. And when it comes from them, they're engaged. And the why do we do this, comes naturally. Fostering collaboration and community was a big part of this project. Individual students made their own clouds to all be put together in this with a big impactful installation, and they were very proud of themselves. And when other students walked through the hallway and looked up, because they were short enough to be like looking up through all this fabric of precipitation, it was like a magical land that they created for the school to see. So it was very relevant and had a lot of value to them. This project also is a lot about engagement and the why, and specifically to facilitate personal strategies for staying engaged. And the project that you're seeing here, the artwork, is based on emotions and facial expressions, and this was a third grade project. It not only was just a fun project, let's make faces out of these interesting collage pieces, it was tied into their school-wide study of or adoption of a program called the Zones of Regulation. And in the Zones of Regulation, children are encouraged to identify their emotions and notice that behavior comes from emotions, and there's the red zone, the yellow zone, and the green zone, and most learning happens in the green zone. So our goal is to keep the students in the green zone, or help them understand how to be in the green zone. And the green zone would be like happy, calm, content. And in this project, the students we acted out different emotions and looked at each other and made faces and noticed where our facial features were and what happened to them when we were feeling a certain way, and then of course made these wonderful fantastic kind of silly collages with them. So the engagement was strong because it's about them, their feelings, and a school-wide program that they're all learning about. So it really, the UDL helped me turn this project from like, oh, it's a fun, silly face project, to something that was really a full, well-rounded experience that I think they will remember a long time from now, I hope.
Kim, as I listen to you talk about all these great experiences in a school context, one of the things that comes to mind for me is hearing throughout the years about how teachers who use universal design for learning really find that classroom management problems diminish quite a bit, and they're able to spend much more time really focusing on supporting the learning of all students. Can you take us through a few examples of how families and caregivers can use these great methods on their own?
I definitely can. Something that's really important is to, whether you're working with a whole classroom or a small group or an individual, following the artist's lead is very important for helping artists with disabilities engage and enjoy art. And with UDL, multiple means of representation and action and expression, providing many different methods or many different ways that who you're working with, who you're making art with, can create is really important. And remembering that the process is really the more important part of this, and not creating a product as much as a process. Flexibility is really important, and when you're thinking about multiple options, trying out materials based on what preferences the artist has. So we'll talk a little bit about scent and texture and other sensations, and also the positioning of the environment and the work surface can be really important to comfort and access. And then we'll talk about some adaptive tools too.
Next, you're going to see a variety of tools and strategies that are put together by the Vermont Assistive Technology Program.
Something that is really cool that I didn't really think about much before I learned, I saw this slideshow by the Vermont Assistive Technology Program as clamps. You can clamp paper to a surface. You can use all kinds of things that you probably already have in your house, like chip clips or clothespins, even a coat hanger for pants. You can put paper and have it hang down. Any way that you can secure the surface, secure the art surface to the table or wall that you're working on that takes your hand away from it, that's good. The goal is to create more autonomy so that you're not, if you're facilitating an art experience, you're not like so involved. You really want the artist to take the lead. So the clamps can be helpful for that. And they're cheap, and they're probably already in your house. There's also gripper tape, or that shelf paper that's kind of bumpy and like a jar opener kind of feel. If you put something like that under, say you have tabletop scissors, but they always are just kind of moving around, put that underneath and it creates a lot more of a smooth experience. And then grips, adding a grip to a paintbrush or a crayon, that can be very helpful, and you can get really creative with using Velcro to make a cuff, or an old hair curler can be an interesting foam cuff or grip, and then a tennis ball. It all depends on the person's motor and muscle coordination, what you use. So other tools, which are really fun for painting, would be also really like an action kind of painting. We have balloons, sponges, bubble wrap. I'm going to show you spray bottles and how to even use cars and marbles. This explains in pictures what I was talking about. The bubble wrap printing is really fun. At the top middle, you'll see that you can use paint and paint right on top of bubble wrap, and either place paper on it or put it on the paper. It's fun to do ocean kind of theme too. I've done projects with ocean theme, and those can be the bubbles underwater. Of course, it's really fun to pop them too. And you can take a beverage, like a drink tray thing from, I just was in Costco yesterday actually, and I was kept like raiding their cardboard because I kept thinking of different ideas. But if you take a little cardboard tray and put a piece of paper in it and marbles and paint, and you can go to town with some painting using marbles or even toy cars. A lot of these are the action kind of painting is good for using your large muscle groups instead of fine motor. Also on the bottom middle, you see a green balloon that's inflated just a small amount. It's nice and squishy, I bet, and that'd be really fun to just dip in your paint. You get some neat mixing and a really satisfying circle. And spray bottles, now that it's nice out, we can bring it outside and get messy and see what happens when you mix different kinds of paint. You could also use a squirt bottle like a ketchup squirter and just thin out your paint. Those are fun, colorful, exciting. And then thinking about positioning of the individual and the surface. You want things to feel comfortable and like have access to all, have the artists have access to all the materials. So even taping down a paint container so it doesn't move around, or slanting your work surface. You could even, paint standing up, or if you are on the floor or wheelchair, having it be just a comfortable area. We went through some of the non-slip material. This one I'm excited to try. You can make a slant tray, or slant out of a pizza box. And this just shows that all you need is some creativity, not a lot of money. Just, maybe spend $20 on a pepperoni pizza. Hopefully it's a little less than that, actually. You'd have to get a deluxe one for $20, but you can do a little scoring and tilt the pizza box and secure it down with something heavy or tape it to the surface. And that way, it's good access, a good angle. Okay. Adding texture or even taking away a texture could help somebody access art. If you add sand to paint, or you use clay or put a different texture in the clay, that can be interesting. You can use shaving cream. You can paint with glue. You just add acrylic paint to glue, and you make, it really gets a cool swirly squirt kind of thing, and then let it dry. And then you can even paint inside of that with a different type of paint. We have a great image of many different things you can do with touch and your sense of touch. We have, what is this called? I'm blanking. Thank you, tinfoil. Tinfoil with paint on top would probably feel pretty cool and bumpy. We have all kinds of clothespins with things you never really knew of as a paintbrush. Turn it into a paintbrush and see what texture it makes. The sensory bags, filling a Ziploc gallon bag with 2 different types of paint. You can do color mixing like blue and red. When you mix it around, it makes purple, and it's very little mess. You just tape it, reinforce it. And I see that the person who did this one put a white paper underneath so that you can see your finger marks. And you could also practice writing this way as well. Another tool that is good for a lot of areas in life, but art too, is the Picture Exchange Communication System, or PECS. And in the art classroom, I use this as kind of a schedule, and it offers a lot of it offers an alternative for auditory information, which is one of the UDL multiple means of representation, one of the checkpoints, which you can learn more about on the CAST website, which we'll show you at the end. And the PECS is a great visual way for offering choice. If somebody is not very verbal, they can choose, like, I want to use blue and put it on a strip, or a different shape, or material even. And then it creates a situation where they have more control, and that can alleviate some anxiety too. Another thing that also can alleviate anxiety and also provide a sense of structure are social stories. And the SLP and autism interventionist at the school Hiawatha in Essex, where I work, the speech-language pathologist's name is Christine Eliason, and the autism interventionist's name is Lori Debris. They are very, I've learned a lot from them in terms of offering supports in different ways for students, and one of the things that they create together are social stories with photos and text about art class and what to expect going into art, what did we do last time, and it really helps strengthen learning and prepare for the next time. And technology can be extremely fun and another way to access art. This is a smartboard on the left, and a student who was in second grade using a pen, one of the pens that you can draw right on top of a photo. So we're working on self-portraits, and we had mirrors, we had all kinds of, like before with the other portrait project, we set it up different ways talking about facial features, and the student was able to use the marker to draw right where his facial features were, and that way, transferring the information right onto the paper it made more sense to him because he got to draw in real time, or in really big time there. Plus, it's really exciting to see your face so big and use that technology. If you have access to technology like this, it's really fun. Now, Judy, we've heard a lot about UDL and how I've used it. What are some other contexts you know of where a teaching artist uses UDL?
Thanks, Kim. By now there have been more than 30 teaching artists who've graduated from the Arts Connect course, and I like to think of them as deputies of delight, spreading these great strategies and tools around the state and working both in the studios of partnering arts organizations and in schools. Another star student is Lisa Condino, who teaches for VSA Vermont and artist residencies at the Howard Center's Baird School, which serves students with severe behavioral and emotional challenges. And one of the things that has been really delightful to emerge from that is not only the same kind of deep engagement, multiple ways of receiving information, a very high level of motivation to learn, but also new ways for teachers to understand how students are learning and that they are learning because they can demonstrate in the varied ways that the arts provide. One of the reasons why the Vermont Arts Council is very involved in this Arts Connect project is that they maintain a list of rostered teaching artists that work all over the state, and they're very involved in the professional development of that artist group. We'll show you their website at the end of the webinar and how to get in touch with them if you'd like further information. We'll come back to that links page in a moment. Right now, because the links page will be the last thing that you see. Before then, Kim and I would just like to say thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you find this to be a useful webinar.
Thanks so much. I really encourage you to get a hold of us if you have any questions, and I'm very pleased to share this with you today. Thanks.
We're going to go back to this webinar page. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, we're going to go right to the web and show you the links to some of the organizations that we've talked about during the course of the webinar. The Integrated Arts Academy is one of the leaders in the state in really infusing the arts and inclusive methods into all their subject matters. Burlington City Arts is among our partners who's teaching artists learn and use universal design for learning in studio teaching and in classroom work. The Flynn has a very high priority. The Flynn Center for Performing Arts has a very high priority on universal design for learning and inclusive teaching methods, as well as inclusive presentations. And here is their website where you can go to find out more. The Flynn does their own studio teaching and teaches in school settings across the state. The Vermont Assistive Technology Program produced the slides on the adaptive tools that you saw earlier. Here's more information about them. VSA Vermont is part of actually it's an international network of organizations that do similar work convened by the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, and they have a lot of resources on arts and education and archive and always renewing schedule of webinars that anyone can sign up for more information on inclusive teaching methods in the arts. VSA Vermont has information on our programs. We, in arts education, serve people from infancy through seniors. And as an example, we can show you our mentoring program, which matches adults with disabilities with high school students with disabilities, specifically for participating in the arts. There's more on those. Every page, every tab here has some resources at the end. So for education or for teaching artists, and there are resources on every page. And lastly, we will go to the CAST website. CAST is the center of very rich information on universal design for learning, and you can spend hours in there, lovely webinars and other resources. So that is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much to the Vermont Family Network for making this webinar possible.